It's November 11th. Happy Veterans Day, and thanks to all the service members, current and retired. Thank you for your service. So anyhow, I've been working in the garage. It's like 74 degrees outside, and of course it's going to start raining as soon as I start making this video. And I just wanted to talk about how I created my plans for both my garage and our deck. And I guess I'll just make my way into the deck. Good Lord, it's starting to pour. Now, this storm's coming through. So two of my big projects I'm pretty proud of are the screened-in porch, which I guess I should have probably cleaned up for this video, but I made the plans for this porch, which is a pretty significant undertaking, as well as the garage that we're just about done with. Made all the plans with PowerPoint. I made all my permit plans myself. I saved a ton of money just drawing up my own plans, and I did have to consult engineers for some of the footers, both with the deck and with this garage. But aside from that, I made all the other architectural designs myself using PowerPoint. So I kind of want to just show you how I did it, and see if I can maybe paste a file. You can copy it yourself, but was able to design this whole thing and spec my changes, as I went along. Just designed it how I wanted, and I didn't have to pay an architect a ton of money. I just used PowerPoint. So let me get on the computer here. Let's do some screen sharing and show you what we got. All right, so I sat down to do this video over a month ago, and I don't know, I came in here, was messing with the software, it wasn't working right, and then life got in the way. So here we are 30 days later. Ironically, it's raining again today. So I want to try to knock this out and show you exactly what I did to do my plan. So the purpose of this is, again, to show you how you could save money on your permit plans. I'm not an engineer. I'm not in the construction trade. You should use what I tell you is what worked for me. Might not work for you. Might not be legal in your county. But in my state, in my county, this flies. So we'll start with the garage. Since we walked in, I just want to show you exactly what I did to create my initial renderings, and what I did to create my permit plans. So I still had to consult an engineer for my footer plan, but I used Virginia Building Code and International Building Code guidelines to know how to frame this up. So you need to have some sort of baseline knowledge of construction or building, framing, electrical, all that kind of stuff. If you're going to do it all yourself, you got to have some sort of knowledge there. You can learn a lot on YouTube, but you still have to follow the code. Again, I'm in Northern Virginia, so there's several different pieces of literature, like just typical building codes and schedules that you're supposed to follow that are the same for all these Northern Virginia counties. So with that said, I knew I had to come in with a drawing, and the drawing had to show basic measurements, ingress, egress, like just a basic framing plan. They basically have to understand what the project is, where it's going to be, what it's going to be used for, and what the materials are going to be. So how do you do that? You pay somebody a lot of money to use CAD, or you try to use Google SketchUp. You can use 1,000 different products probably. But they all cost money, and the point of this is like to save money, because you're going to be spending a ton on materials, especially in 2022. So first thing you do is you open up PowerPoint, Microsoft PowerPoint, and you're gonna go through and open a new project. The first thing you need to go is make sure you have you got to have a template that's big enough to support your drawing. So in my case, my building was 40 feet wide. I wanted to have room on both sides for overhangs and just other details. This little box right here has actually got my address and my information. I just have it blocked out because I don't feel like advertising it, but you would have that information on your plans as well. So go over here to slide size. and you're going to do a custom slide size. I'm hoping you can see all this. And basically, knowing that I needed 40 feet in width, I created a document that's 56 inches, and I'm using an inch per foot, essentially. And then the height, I have 44 inches. The beauty of this particular measurement is that if you print it out on an 11 by 18 sheet of paper, it will scale down to 1/4 inch equals 1 foot. Now, I would recommend, like, you may have to print, maybe adjust your columns slightly. I don't think I made column adjustments, but when I actually scaled this up to a bigger piece of paper, I still had to scale it, and I went to a local print company and we just printed out a couple. We took a ruler to it and measured it to make sure they were on. I think a couple of them were just slightly off. We just shrunk some margin or something like that. But basically, an 11 by 18 piece of paper is going to get you a scale for a permit plan drawing. And I would go through every elevation. So I went through the front, then I went through the framing on the front. And again, this isn't perfectly clean. There's like all sorts of things you could spend hours like cleaning up, but these are just rectangle shapes I colored to make it look like wood. There's another these are all shapes that you can just draw from, from here, the insert tab. Go to shapes, you can pick all sorts of shapes. I don't remember where I got the little guy from. Maybe he was from like Icons or something, but it's all just stuff that's been in here. My original plan called for double doors. I actually shrunk it down to a single door because I didn't want to pay all that money, and I realized I wasn't going to benefit from a double door up top. Went to my rear elevation. You can play with window sizes, placement. It just helps you design your structure, your project. And then in each elevation, I would break it down from the exterior and then show a rough framing plan. This would kind of allow me to help figure out how many studs I was going to need, how much material, when I made my material list, headers, all that sort of stuff. Again, I have these headers in here. They're drawn as like 2 by 12 headers, but I don't think I actually used 2 by 12. I think I only had to use like 2 by 8 because they're triple, or 2 by 6 triples for those headers. So there's things that I consulted the Virginia Code on for spans and all that stuff for my final product. Again, I showed the inside. I showed basically a rough drawing of what I wanted to do for my inside, and I copied and pasted out of the typical deck details, knowing that I was going to have, I've got this inside railing here. It's essentially a deck rail going across the whole back. So I just followed the county deck details and, was able to, account for all the requirements. This also helped me like measure out my steps and all these sorts of things. So again, it still takes time and you still have to have some basic knowledge of how to build, but I did this all in PowerPoint. These are all just shapes. And cutting and pasting from other documents. As you go down, I just tried to describe window sizes, distances, all the ones I thought would be important. Showing my grade line. Again, framing plan. This was, I don't even remember what this was, but this doesn't exist here anymore, except this is just fire block that's basically on the inside. I actually took my walls all the way to the peak. I guess this is not the final drawing. I did update my drawing so that I have balloon walls that go all the way to the peak up here. So there's no hinge. And again, side elevation with basic layout. Again, this isn't all cleaned up, and it doesn't have to be. As long as you have the basic measurements so that they can make a determination of whether it's going to be a viable product, and as long as you have engineering information for your footers, for all your weight-bearing stuff, which you can get, like my truss plan. Basically, see roof details by other. I contacted the truss company that I use. They built my truss, and they give you a whole package. It's got all the engineering plans in there, so they spec it out. Like, it's not going to fall apart. It tells you where to put all your braces, all that kind of stuff. So you just submit that with your plans, and it will get approved. Interior bird's eye view, I dropped in the dimensions from the lift I thought I was going to use. I ended up changing my mind. I'm not going to use a 2-post. I'm probably going to go with a 4-post some other time. But I know, because of these drawings, I know exactly where my reinforced concrete is. And that was also added to my concrete plan. So depending on how complicated your project is, you may have to have other sets of drawings, but I still saved, I think, $2,500 or more by doing these drawings myself. Overhead view, had my elevations. I needed this for reference for concrete. I ended up doing a lot of the excavation in advance. I got it within a couple of inches. So the excavation guy, the concrete guys, didn't have to do a whole lot of their own excavation and figuring out. And, you know, I already knew I needed 9-foot walls. And then I just wanted to see, like, hey, like, I got my car, I got my truck, maybe a camper. What, you know, how is that all going to fit in here? Is my building going to be big enough? Does it have enough room for my landing? So all these things were, you know, stuff I wanted to figure out. Of course, I was showing basic storage, what I might have. And then I included the FEMA setbacks. So I could show the county that my proposed building, this yellow one, was not going to be anywhere in the flood zone. So this is what I did for the garage. On my deck, it's something very similar. Deck wasn't as big. It was taller, but not wide. So again, for this drawing, go over to the design, slide size, custom, and I did a 34-inch high, 44 height. That doesn't seem right. Actually, I think it's vice versa. Oh yeah, because I got it in portrait. So, you know, 44 high, 34 wide. But this allowed me to draw everything I needed for, you know, for the deck design. Basically showing all the important things I know they're going to ding me on. I'm going to try to zoom in here. Some of the stuff that you really are going to have to focus on is, like, you know, showing there are these Simpson ties and all that sort of stuff. But basically the same problem occurred. I had to consult an engineer for my footers. Oh boy, I'm sorry, that's screwed up. So essentially I'm showing my footers here in the bottom. And now my computer's gonna struggle with me. But I basically reference by number the footers that were provided, the footer information was provided by the engineer. So if you see down here, hopefully I can zoom in a little bit without, again, locking things up. I basically referenced each footer number, which went back to an engineer's stamp, a stamp plan for the footers themselves. Is the only thing I had to consult an architect or an engineer on was just how wide do my footers got to be to support this much weight. I built this so that at any point in time I could go ahead and enclose and frame out the interior if I wanted to make this a conditioned living area. It's enough to support all that. But that was the deck that I just walked off of. So you know, I basically showed the top elevation, again, framing plan. This one I was a little more precise with where my trusses needed to be. It allowed me to count how many trusses I needed. I included my my wiring plan, and again, that might not be in I don't think this is the final drawing either, but this is my floor joist plan. And I did this one pretty precisely. But again, these are just shapes. And then once I got the right shapes, the right dimensions, I just copied and pasted them, so I didn't have to keep creating them new every time. But it showed all my laddering, my supports. It allowed me again to count for my materials and determine how much I needed to order. So lastly, I guess that goes into how do you save money? Like, use PowerPoint. You can do your permit plans, consult an engineer where you need to. And I use Microsoft Excel to track all my expenses. So I did all my bidding, my estimates, and what I paid, my total cost. I've got cost sheets for the deck and for this garage, and for the basement that I'm finishing now. So same thing for the basement. I basically just drew a perimeter and showed where the finished area, and I showed my lighting plan, my electrical plan, and that's it. And it was approved. So long video. Appreciate you watching, but hopefully that, you know, gives you some encouragement to not spend a fortune, not have to pay an architect when you don't need to, because these drawings are I mean, even when you have real ones, they're guidelines. You're going to change stuff on the fly. You're going to realize that measurements didn't work out like they were envisioned. And even the most detailed plans often have those kind of changes. So good luck, and see you in the next one.